Hi everyone. So we're gonna start this webinar. First of all, welcome to this webinar that's called Teaching STEM with Bioeconomy. It's jointly organized by Scientix, the community for science education in Europe, and the Bloom Project, the initiative to raise awareness about bioeconomy. I'm Vanessa. I'm one of the communications officer of the project, Bloom Project. And today with me, as you have seen, there is Eleni, my colleague, which is going to be here to assist you for any technical issues. So please, if you have any problem, don't hesitate to ask her in the chat. She'll be super happy to help you. Before introducing the topic of today, I would like to share some news with you. So if you've been here earlier, you've probably seen this. So today we would like to tell you about the new Bloom Stories of Implementation competition that that's going to start in February, but we are officially announcing the competition today. So the competition is organized by Bloom, and it's in collaboration with the STEM Discovery Campaign, if you're familiar with it. And the competition invites primary and secondary school teachers to use bioeconomy as a way of engaging their students about society's issue and using the Bloom School Box resources, which is one of the topics we're going to talk about today. So today, with our guest speaker, as I was telling you, we're gonna discover how to teach bioeconomy with the bioeconomy resources available in the Bloom School Box. The Bloom School Box, if you're not familiar with it, it's free online. They're free online resources, a collection of bioeconomy related teaching resources, and that introduce the concept of bioeconomy. And it's been created as part of the Bloom project. So our first speaker today, which is going to be Marta, is going to tell you everything you need to know about the Bloom School Box resources. Normally, Jose was supposed to join you today for the session, but unfortunately, he's not going to be here. But don't worry, Marta and Irene are both experts on the topic. For the one who don't know Marta is one of the Scientix ambassadors in Portugal. She has a science degree in communications, and she's actively collaborating in scientific projects with the National Agency the National Agency for Scientific and Technological Culture in Portugal. Yeah, and at her school, she coordinates many awarded scientific projects. Later, we're gonna have Irene. She's gonna talk to us about her learning scenario, Bloom Your School Box with biofuel and soap lab. And she'll tell you how she implemented it in her classroom. Irene, she has studied physics, and she has a master's degree in science education and digital education technology. She's a science teacher at of the Greek and the A-level program at Nia Tinia Lirides School in Athens, and she's also in the head of the science department at her school. And she's being responsible for the instructional design of science curriculum and coordination of the department. She also has experience in different European Erasmus and e-twinning projects, as well as organizing networking events. And later on, Marta is going to talk to us again about her own learning scenario that's called Building a New Environmental Future. So it's going to take about 15 minutes for each, and after that we're going to have a 15-minute session to answer all of your questions. Don't be shy if you have any. There is not such a thing as bad questions. We're going to collect them in the chat, so please write them down, and me and my colleague, we're going to list them, and at the end of the sessions we're going to ask the presenter to answer these questions. Once again, if you have any technical issue, do not hesitate to tell my colleague Eleni. She's more than happy to help you. Okay, and so now I'm gonna hand over to Marta, who's gonna tell you about the Bloom School Box.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm sorry about José, but he had a last-minute urgent meeting, so I'll try to do my best, okay? We live in a world of limited resources. Global challenges like climate change, land and ecosystem degradation, coupled with growing population, force us to seek new ways of producing and consuming that respect our planet. At the same time, the need to achieve sustainability constitutes a strong incentive to modernize our industries in a highly competitive global economy. To tackle these challenges, we must improve and innovate the way we produce and consume food, products and materials within healthy ecosystems through a sustainable bioeconomy. An economy based on biomass has great potential to mitigate climate change and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. To be successful, the European bioeconomy needs to have sustainability and circularity at its heart. But first, citizens must know what bioeconomy is. And so Bloom had born. Bloom is an EU coordination and supported action implemented from 2017 to 2020. 10 countries, Austria, Belgium, Croatia, Greece, Italy, Israel, Poland, Portugal, Spain and Sweden, together with 20 teachers, hundreds of students, and one goal: learn about bioeconomy. Bioeconomy aims to establish open and informed dialogues co-created by European citizens, the civil society, bioeconomy innovation networks, local research centers and industry stakeholders. The project aims at bringing together partners from across Europe to debate, communicate and engage the public in the potential of bioeconomy. So, Pilot Teachers team produced bioeconomy teaching resources together with project experts. We tested these resources in our schools and classrooms and disseminated the projects and resources in our region. For over a year, all these teachers worked to develop the Bloom School Box. The Bloom School Box is a collection of bioeconomy-related teaching resources. Educators can use it to introduce the concept of bioeconomy in their classrooms, to raise students' interest in science subjects and their awareness of important societal challenges. The basis of the Bloom School Box are 5 innovative learning scenarios created and tested in classrooms by the 20 pilot Bloom expert teachers. Each Bloom School Box scenario has a name and displays some information about the age of the target learners, the subjects coverage, the language. You can also see a little resume. The school box covers with a wide range of topics, from making and testing biodiesels and soups from plastic, through waste management, to thermal properties of bio-based building materials. We can also build a new environmental future. I will talk about it later. About growing plastic and give them a new life. And last but not least, how poop will change the world. In this webinar, Eirini and me will dive deeper into understanding some resources. So now I'll pass the word to Eirini that will talk with you about her learning scenario.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you. Yes,
okay.
We can hear you.
So thank you, Marta, for your wonderful introduction. It was our pleasure to be in this project, in Bloom's Bioeconomy project. My team consisted of, we were 2 teachers from Greece and 2 other teachers from Sweden. It was Efi Papageorgiou, a chemistry teacher from Greece. It was me. It was Kiki Liadaki, which is from a Swedish school, as well as Preeti Galwait. We had a very lovely combination, and we worked together in order to help our students understand about bioeconomy topics. It's really important that we also were not aware of what bioeconomy really is, and we learned so many things through that project. Our learning scenario was titled as Biofuel and Soap Lab. Our title was Bloom Your School with Biofuel, Your Biofuel and Soap Lab. The worksheet, the learning scenario, was based on a physics and chemistry as well as biology lesson, and aimed on students from 13 to 16 years old. Its methodology that was being used was inquiry-based learning as well as collaborative learning. We wanted to have an active learning that starts from posing questions and involved investigation of students. The learning spaces that we used was basically our science lab and the local market, so they used the supermarket a lot. The time was basically 200 minutes, and which was 5 learning scenarios, 5 activities. Each one had 40 minutes duration. The total amount of students were 20, and they were split in 5 groups because they were working collaboratively. So let's see what this was all about. First, as I said, we had an inquiry-based learning, and a collaborative learning based scenario. So our first goal was to organize our students in groups. They were organized in groups of 4. Then after that, we wanted to introduce them the idea of bioeconomy in a way that they will start by posing a problem first. So we started by using pictures of bio-based products as a trigger to introduce them bio-based products from Bloom PowerPoint presentations. We used also a YouTube video which was about environmental issues. This helped them because we started by posing questions like philosophical questions like what would you like to change in this world? They started mentioning on their own about environmental issues, and that was where everything started. So we started discussing about our environmental problems and thinking of ways to solve them. They did know about the environmental issues, so we started, and recycling, so we started building up on it. They didn't know about bioeconomy at all. It was really nice and interesting that the Swedish team knew about the bioeconomy topic without understanding what bioeconomy really is. I mean, the word meaning, the terminology. Compared to us, that we could understand what bioeconomy is because it's a Greek word, but we didn't really know what it means in real life. So we started discussing and introducing the topic of bioeconomy that is different than recycling. They couldn't really understand what's their difference, but by using pictures and products that have been produced which are bio-based, this really helped us. This after that really made sense. So their first activity was just an introduction to bioeconomy, to the idea of it, and discussing about it. And after that, after the 40 minutes of our class, we had the homework, of course, and in that homework, in that activity, they had to go at the local market or at a supermarket and look at the products and find as many bio-based products as they can find. This was really nice, and I think it helped them a lot, because they made that important link between the lessons, the class, and the society and their real life. So they came back next day, and they found packages, egg packages, which were made of bio-based products. They found toothbrushes which were made of wood. So it was again really good, because we started discussing what a bio-based product really is. Bio-based is not recycling. Bio-based is using a product that you would never basically use, something that you would throw away. So we started building on that question, and there is where the next activity starts and our next lesson. I have already told them that please, was 2 weeks ago that I told them, please go to your kitchen, tell your ma'am, don't throw your vegetable cooking used oil in the rubbish bin. Please keep it for us, because we need it for school. So at the second activity, they brought me their used vegetable cooking oil, which was used via our experiment to produce our own biodiesel. This was a really interesting experiment. What difficulties, because we didn't have in the beginning the equipment. We needed funnels that we had to buy, but students really went into it and loved it. So by using their own vegetable used cooking oil, they produced their own biodiesel. They didn't really understand what biodiesel is, so we had to go on our second activity, which was the next time. They all had 40 minutes duration. Our third activity and second experiment was to have the chance to test finally our biodiesel. How did we test it? We burned it. It was really important to actually test your fuel to see if it works. So we burned our fuel and measured the heat of combustion. It was nice because we had the chance also to compare it with another oil, with actually petrol. This is a bit dangerous, so I didn't let them do that. I did it on my own. It was like an instruction. So I did it on my own, and because fire was came out. So we compared it, and we saw that what's the difference between the biodiesel, which is eco-friendly, and the petrol that we use. Advantages and disadvantages of each. After that, we had the chance to go to the fourth experimental work, laboratory work, which was to produce our soaps. I have to mention that from our first experiment, in which we produced our biodiesel, this happened by using our used cooked oil, vegetable cooking oil, adding methanol and potassium hydroxide. After a few days, there were two layers that came out. The first one was our biodiesel, and the second one was our glycerin. So In the second experiment, we took the biodiesel and tested, and that was time for the third experiment and fourth activity, in which we used the glycerin in order to produce soaps. It was really an interesting and creative activity for them. Through that, we took the glycerol that was being produced by the first activity and added some essential oils such as coconut oil, color, and stir it, mix it, and pour it in our molds. After 2 days, the soaps were ready. So in the end, after all these activities, they had to make an advertisement, a 1-minute advertisement in which they would design their own bio-based product, just was theoretical, and advertise it, find a very creative and enhancing and a very creative way to attract bio-based products in their audience. So the advertisement of the students was presented in the class and uploaded in YouTube. The rest of the class found arguments whether this was a good product or not, and a very creative and interesting discussion came after that. That was it. To sum up, we had 6 stages following inquiry-based learning. We started by thinking ways we could enter bioeconomy in our curriculum, because of course bioeconomy was not part of our curriculum. So we implemented it in our lyceum, which means like 15 to 16-year-old students, and in chemistry lesson basically, although it is relevant to biology and physics as well, because it uses terms of them as well. And so we started by finding the curriculum parts that would help us introduce bioeconomy, and then introduced our topic to our students. Then we asked them to investigate it and connect it with real-life experiences. That's why they went outside in the market and they found products, bio-based products. Then stage 3 came, which was time for experiments and experimental work, through which they produced their, first of all, they used the vegetable cooking oil, which was something they would throw and never use. So they used something that was useless, actually, in order to produce biofuel in our second experiment, and soaps in the third one. After that, they had to evaluate and present their results. Basically, this was done by comparing the soaps, and of course I checked their worksheets. Everything was done by a structured work, through which each experiment they had to answer specific questions that had to do with science topics. Last but not least was stage 7 and 6, through which they applied what they have learned by creating their own advertisement, and then disseminating bioeconomy everywhere via YouTube links. So Bloom was an amazing project, students really loved it. Of course, there were obstacles such as the lack of equipment and the time, as well as the accuracy in conducting experiments. I have to mention that because those 3 experiments need accuracy. If you are not accurate in your measurements, you might end up with nothing. So you have to be really careful. But this is also a skill that they need to learn. Lack of time and equipment was important. The outcomes, they were actually they managed to understand what bioeconomy really is, distinguish it with recycling, and distinguish bio-based and non-bio-based materials, connect bioeconomy to their real life experience, and last but not least, because it's always important, gain social and experimental skills and have fun. This was really nice. Students in the end told me that, Miss, I had the chance through that experiment to talk and to my students, work with them, and I think a student told me, Miss, I think I became even more socialized, and this was really nice and interesting. They told me they would like to even study and get involved in in a topic like that after their studies at school. Their gain was huge. The gain was huge. I think it's better to let them talk instead of me. So you're going to watch a video from their interviews that they made especially for you.
How would you define Bloom's project using one word?
Collaboration.
Yeah, teamwork.
Awareness.
Environmental consciousness.
Research.
Lab experience.
Investigation.
Innovation.
Enjoyable.
Exciting.
Engaging.
Spectacular. Inspiring.
Brainstorming.
Motivating.
Fun. Amusing.
Enjoyable.
Me changed the idea of science for me. It made me like it much more than before.
Enjoyable.
Exciting.
Amusing.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Thank you very much, Eleni, for the very nice presentation and the very nice video at the end. I don't know if you had anything to add after this, or?
No, I have nothing else to add. I'm at your disposal for any further questions and for anyone that might need any help.
So I'm going to save some questions for the end of the webinar, but I just have one myself. First of all, I would like to say that I really like the fact that in addition to the regular topics of physics, chemistry, and biology, the students, they could explore some more skills such as ICT and communications. It's very nice that they could work on the advertisements, and I was wondering, was it difficult for them at that stage to explain the concept to others, like by doing it through advertisement? Did you have to explain some more, or did they find it easy, or?
Well, I think it wasn't difficult at all, because it just, the way it was designed, it just caught their attention. So since you get students' attention, everything is easy. They really went into it, found information via using websites and the internet. No, it wasn't difficult at all.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. And in the meantime, we might have some questions for Irini, if you stop for answering some questions about your learning scenario.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've got a question earlier. It was, so yes. So the question was for Eleni, how do you use the separating funnel to extract the biofuel from the used vegetable oil? So very specific.
Okay, so basically this was about the first activity that we had, and it wasn't that we took the fuel, added the potassium hydroxide as well as the methanol and the vegetable cooking oil, let it for 48 hours to stand, and after that there were the 2 layers that were produced. So it doesn't happen immediately. It needs 48 hours to let your reaction happen, and your mixture after that to stand and separate into 2 layers. So because they have different density. So the biodiesel is on the top, and the glycerol is on the bottom, or glycerin. So you've got your biodiesel on the top, you're in the funnel, your glycerol on the top, on the bottom, and after that, oops, something went wrong. Okay. So yeah, after that, we open the funnel and we collect the glycerol, which is on the bottom, and the separatory funnel, and then try carefully and accurately to close the funnel and keep the biodiesel on the top, if that makes sense. It's one of the most difficult parts of the experiment because it needs really a lot of accuracy, and it might not work, so you have to be really accurate. You've got the bottom, on the bottom the glycerol, on the top the biofuel, and that's how you open the tunnel, and that's how you collect only the glycerol in the beginning, and then you have the biofuel.
Okay, thank you for answering. Marta, you could join us right now. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's really bad weather in Portugal. It's really raining. It's a stormy. I'm sorry. I think the connection went out. Now, can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can I?
And now, Marta, it's the webinar is all yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Oh, once again, here I am, okay, and as I said, let's build together a new environmental future. I think I was presenting my team, me, José, Estelle, and Veronica, 2 from Portugal, 2 from Israel. As I said, we all teach STEM subjects, and we coordinate some scientific projects, okay? And now let's start by saying what our learning scenario was. We divided it into 3 parts, and we assign each part a title, okay? So for part 1, what is bioeconomy? The students should meet first what bioeconomy is. So we introduced the theme of bioeconomy with a short film. We gave them a box with some materials, and we asked them to divide these materials into 2 groups: non-bio-based products and bio-based products. We wanted them to be smart. For part 2, what can we do with this? So for younger students, we gave them a box with some local foods, and we asked them to find examples of usage for the given material so as to take the most of their potential, because sometimes garbage goes to garbage and we don't do anything with it. And for older students, we gave them a box with sets of materials, and we connected them with local industry. We wanted students to be inspired. Then a little bit of Obama, yes, we can change the world. And the younger students plan an exhibition and a science fair, and the older students planned some scientific projects and show them in a science fair. So we wanted students to be creative. Of course, all of these came with some challenges. We had some challenges which we had to cover it. First of all, we planned to show an introductory movie, but we thought it was not enough. So before we read some news on climate changes, about storms, hurricanes, we talked about the fact that the seasons are no longer different. When does spring ends and summer begin? We don't know. We presented some data about the materials that our planet has to give us and the speed at which we spend them. For that we use storytelling. We rewrote the story of the golden egg hen and let the students think about this information. About the box, well, when we went looking for bio-based materials to put in our Bloom box, this was a problem. So maybe you will have the same problem as we had, because we didn't find it. So the solution we found, risky, was to display pictures about bio-based products and traditional products. We really found many examples of products that already exist in the market, many brands that they know well. It was quite easy. We also found lots of information on which raw material was used to build those materials. So since we anticipated confusion about the concepts of recycling, reuse and bioeconomy, as Irini told you in the beginning, so they had the same problem, and probably you will have, we decided to add real materials that had resulted from this same process. So as you can see in this picture, along with pictures of bio-based products, we have napkins, plastic bags. So to make some confusion, because we really wanted them to distinguish bio-based products from recycling products. And well, they really enjoyed this activity. They tried to put them in two groups. It was really fun because they went wrong in almost all the images. It's almost likely a competition of those who fail more. They were very surprised about some materials to have origin in cotton, corn, sugarcane. So we had debate on linear economy, recycling, bioeconomy. We wanted to make sure that the concepts were understood, okay? And we think they really were understood. They now know what are bio-based products, what are products resulting from recycling, what is circular economy, what is circular bioeconomy. And to further increase interest in this area, we decided to show at the end two toothbrushes of the same brand, a bio-based and a traditional one. Let me tell you that they could not really tell which is which, because there was no difference, not even in the price. It was more or less the same price. For part two, we had also some challenges, and the first challenge was how could we put the really good question to inspire and encourage their creativity. So we found out our driving question, that is, what can we do with this fruit besides eating it? So as I told you before, each group has to find examples of usage for as much of the mass of the products, so as to make the most of their potential with minimum waste. So we gave them nuts, kiwis, so foods from the local market, and the students began by observing the fruits and identifying the wastes. Then they investigated the composition of the waste to give it another use. They tested their ideas in the lab. For instance, kiwi peel for insulation, the lump of the olive for paint, a cactus for glue. So concepts related to chemistry as conductivity, perhaps thermal mass capacity, could be learned and given with this learning scenario. Even in biology, could you pass, I think, because I wanted them to see all the algae here. Oh, Eleni, yeah, okay, thank you. One of the schools is located in a leather market zone, and the students visited one of the manufacturers. And it was really great because they they found a solution for the waste in the industry. What you are seeing here is two algae, Microcystis and Chlorella. They are growing within those wastes that for the water, yeah. So they grow, and then they made biomass from here. We were teaching photosynthesis and sexual reproduction, and those concepts were applied here and learned from here. It was very interesting. Okay. This was all done in our lab school. We had the help of Coimbra's University, some stakeholders too, okay? And they made another thing. Yeah, now it's, okay, it's at the end. Okay, can I? Yeah. No. Can you change the slide, please? Okay, thank you. Oh, oops, that's the same one. Also, with the leather market, yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, as you can see in these images, there are really lots of wastes, and they produce it fertilizer. So the picture below, it's a fertilizer that they could use to make plants grow, and it was really fun, this idea, because then they this class partnered with another economy class and planned a company to market the fertilizer. The fertilizer had a name, Fertal Cum, because it's the name of the company, and a mix of fertilizer and the name of the company. It's a Portuguese name, I'm sorry, I cannot translate it. And so they showed the concept of bioeconomy to a class of economy. And it was very interesting. Students learned a lot. Also, as Eirini told you, our students also had lots of fun. It was really nice to do this. The concepts were really understood. And well, if you have any question to me, I'm sorry about the internet shutdown. And if you have anything to ask, it will be a pleasure to try to answer this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta, indeed. I do have a question for you. It's more related to the fact that, so as you said, you created this learning scenario together with other teachers from other topics as well. I was wondering, for the teachers who are here today and who might want to create this kind of learning scenarios, how challenging do you find it to create an interdisciplinary lesson together with other teachers?
Well, it was very nice because usually they consider this a topic of biology or a science topic. This has not anything to do with economy, and it could, because economy has to have profits from it. And we told them that the profits could be both to the company and to our planet. It was really nice because it was not a class given by a teacher. So the biology students learned about bioeconomy and all of the process behind it. and then they teach it to their colleagues that don't know anything about biology. It was very interesting, and then they asked the help to another students to do the logo for the fertile cum, and there was a company interested in this fertilizer, so maybe it will be maybe it can go to the market, okay, to the local market, and it was okay.
It's fantastic for the students. It's a great result.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have another question for you, Marta. So in your first slide, we could see that when you designed the lesson, when you designed the scenario, it was both for older and younger students. How was this? How difficult was it, and especially for the youngest one? And could you maybe, like, for which age would it be? And do you think it's easy to to adapt from one group level, one level to another?
Okay, our first idea was two learning scenarios. One for the younger ones, 10, 12 years old, and another one for the older ones, 14 to 18 years old. But in fact, we don't think that there is a difference. So the younger ones could do what the older ones could do. They have creativity, they have critical think. When we put them, for instance, a kiwi, and they start to see, so what do you do with this? And they say, oh, I'll eat, and I'll eat it. And what do you do with the pills? And they say, well, we put them in the garbage. And then there was a student, a little one, that said, oh, so maybe we could catch the peel of the kiwi and do it something. And they were learning some concepts about thermal capacity, and they thought this seems to be a good isolator. So we don't think by the end that it could be one part for the younger ones and another one for the older ones. It could all them could do the same. Okay, there's not really a big difference between it. So we didn't have.
Thank you for answering that question. And I might have the same question. Do you share Marta's opinion, Rinia? Yeah?
For me, right? Yes. Well, for us, I think our learning scenario is basically for secondary students. If I would have to use the same, I would. The younger ones did it, but they need more time in order to understand. If you want to do the same questions, you needed more time with the younger ones. They were really into the idea. They loved it of creating the biodiesel and their soaps. But if you want to connect it with their scientific background, as we did with my team, then it has to be for the secondary, definitely. Because the older ones, they have no experience on combustion, on chemical reactions. So, yeah, if you really want to connect it, which I think is really important to do it, so if you want to really connect it with your curriculum, our learning scenario, my team's learning scenario, should be implemented in secondary students. Bioeconomy can be taught definitely even in primary students, but it has to be in a different way.
Indeed. Okay, I'm gonna bounce back to what you're saying. So you're talking about curriculum. So one of the questions is, and you partly answered earlier, is it difficult to implement such such activities in your case, and such topic in the curriculum? Did you find it very challenging to
It is
find
challenging. It is challenging. First of all, we have to be honest. We are not educated. I wasn't before our Bloom's, educational training in bioeconomy topics. So if it wasn't you, I'm not sure I would enter a field I wouldn't master because so I was one of the lucky ones to be educated on it around that topic. So the first obstacle is that teachers need help in order to do so, to work on topics that not only them but also the society is not familiar with them. This is a really modern topic, bioeconomy, especially in my country. So this is one obstacle. Another one is the lack of time, because our system is exam oriented, unfortunately. So this is another one. You have, in order to design a lab and hold a lab, you need definitely the double time for preparation for your students. Yes. So these were the two important obstacles that we faced. And the third one, the third one is that students don't have experience of doing experiments such as those ones before, and they have, they need more time than they would otherwise.
Well,
thank you.
In Portugal, it would be easy for use it in the 8th grade students, because in the science curriculum there are contents about sustainability. So it would be a great idea. I had some teachers at my school that use this with their students, and there emerge really, really, really nice ideas. Because normally students don't really like ecosystems and sustainability. There are not really awareness about these problems. For high school students, as I am, the concepts of photosynthesis, reproduction, algae life cycles could be learned this way. So it was really, really nice to give this together with the curriculum. And let me tell you that our secondary schools had exams, so we really had a problem also with time. But what we can take from here, it's really, really bigger than just saying what students have to learn. So in Portugal it could be really easy in these grades.
I do have a question, and probably the other person at the webinar are asking themselves the same thing. Are you currently working on a new project based on bioeconomy? Are you working with new students? How do they react to the new topics you're working on with them?
I'm using a cactus. They are trying to peel it and use it to purify water. They are very sensible with countries that have no drinkable water, and they are using now a cactus. We call them opuntia. It's used with some skin creams, and they are testing it to purify water. And another group is working with the skin fish that normally we don't eat, and they are trying to do sun protectors. It's our project for this year.
Inspiring. Great. We don't have so much time left. Irini, maybe if you wanted to add something more, and then I think we'll be done soon.
I hope everyone enjoyed. as we did it when we were working together and with our students. It is really nice. I didn't know anything about bioeconomy, which was really great for me too, because I only thought there was recycling and reusing, and bioeconomy is really another concept. So enjoy it if you can. Irini?
Yes, for me it was amazing. Yes, we are. It's really nice because when you are getting into a subject that you're not familiar with, or basically you know nothing about it, and getting as enthusiastic as students, it's really nice. You don't want to let it go. So we also work on it. On the 13th of December, we would have a teachers workshop, training workshop, so in Greece. And our students, they are so into it that they come with all their used cooking, all that. Basically, now I don't know what to do with it. It's too much to deal, but it's nice. So thank you very much.
Thank you both. So we had many more questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer them all, but you can always reach out to us. We'll be super happy to answer. Someone is asking if the presentation and the links will be available. As you might have noticed, we're recording this webinar, so we're gonna make sure it's available on the Bloom competition page, the Bloom Stories of Implementation competition page. So you can go through the learning scenarios again, and you can go through it again. As well, later on, my colleague Eleni will also send you a link to a survey to answer. And if you all wish to receive the resources and to also receive your certificate of participation, this is the way to do it. So yes, don't hesitate to answer that. Yeah. And if you maybe, yeah. So as you can see in the chat, my colleague is now sharing the link to the survey. So I think you're receiving it. Yes, here. So yeah. So please fill in if you want to have the presentation. I don't know if we have one last minute question, maybe somebody that's dying to know more about these very two great learning scenarios. Right. Yeah. So I think if we don't have any more questions, I just have to thank you once more, Marta and Eleni, for your time and your amazing presentation. It was super interesting. And yeah.
Thank you too.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.